turned to me just then and went, fuck me, follow that. So, Edward James Palmer Robinson, BA, Honours, MA, Distinction, Entrepreneurial Business Owner, Ecological and Environmental Changemaker, on occasions, a pretty brave sartorial trailblazer. He's the pioneer of the Robinson Rule of Three. I'll show you about that one later. He's a member of the MCC, Ascot, the IF Club, and lastly, the Liberal Democrats. With 8,470 votes. He's a Labour candidate for Brixton. And vanquisher of Rosie Edwards' heart. Yes, Ed's list of achievements is long. But you don't care about any of that. You're here for all the times Ed's made an absolute tit of himself. That's all right, good. I'll see what I can do. Ed and I met as young and idealistic freshers during our first few weeks at Durham University, almost exactly, staggeringly, 20 years ago. In the intervening 2 decades, I've had the privilege of lots of quality time with Merlin, Pedro, and the much missed David. And I've been the beneficiary of their incredible generosity and hospitality on more times than I care to remember. However, if I think back to my first meeting with Ed, things didn't begin quite so auspiciously. He sauntered, and he did saunter, into our college bar cuts, accompanied by our MC, James Pistorius. Between them, wearing what I can only describe as a veritable kaleidoscope of colours, clashing colours. Ed's outfit, as I remember it, combined lime green tank top over a bright orange shirt and trousers that included a putrid yellow sort of pattern design. So vivid was this ensemble and the imprint it's made on my brain ever since that my subsequent visits to Notting Hill Carnival have, in truth, been rather underwhelming. Even more extraordinary still was the apparently not ironic decision to cultivate a set of mutton chop sideburns that Travis Williams would have been. Are you ready for a very tenuous link?
Yes.
Just like Ed's clothing and his face furniture in 2002, Ed remains a man of many layers. Arguably, he's even one of some contradictions. He's sporty, yet certainly not athletic. He's quick-witted, yet sometimes painfully slow. He's an orator extraordinaire, as you just heard, but he's also a generous and patient listener as well. He's handsome, but no heartthrob. He's eccentric, although not perhaps always in that charming way I think he thinks he's going. He's deeply thoughtful and forthright in his opinions, but as one of life's grade A dibberers, you could hardly call him a man of action. He's a dedicated socialist, yet one with more stories about drunkenly crashing his parents' yacht than all. More stories of that than Angela Rayner. And indeed, Ed's stag do comprised the highest density of Aldertonians of all of Rosie. Since David Cameron and his Bullingdon Club mates went apple bowling in Budapest. And whilst these days he's a hopeless romantic, as you just heard, it's fair to say on occasions in the past he has also been a hopeless romantic. So why don't we start there? Yes, while some might call him a ladies' man, there can't be many. I mean, at the university, Ed was something of a specialist in how to end a fledgling relationship. Before it even got going, in probably what could even be called passive-aggressive fashion, just passive. I'll give you a quick example. There was Laura, a sweet girl, seemed allured of Ed's particular brand of idiosyncratic conversation, for reasons known only to herself. And she came around one evening when we were living together to watch a movie, prompting conscientious housemates Jamie, Auntie and I to give them some space and disappear for the evening. So when returning from our dinner in town, we popped our heads around the door of the living room just to see what they were watching, and I said, "Oh, hi. Hello, dear, kind, caring Laura. What are you watching then? What's this movie?" She looked at me, a combination of sadness, anger, and resignation in her eyes, and said, "The breakup." Laura was never seen again. And then there was Millie. A friend already, Ed embarked on an ill-advised tryst one somewhat overindulgent evening in the famous Clue nightclub. Millie clearly saw the potential for a long and happy courtship, eventually a romantic engagement on a bridge somewhere, probably in Italy, a lavish society wedding, probably in the home counties, and no doubt at least a polo team's worth of Bonnie Osprey. That's 4 for the Neanderthals amongst us. And wait, we're in Jimmy Cooper's Rutland, so of course you want to have a good. In fact, I think I see Rupert Campbell Black. Hi, Bruce. Anyway, alas, all of poor Millie's extensive ardent dreams were to be dashed and brushed aside in the most cruel and callous of fashions. At first, Ed simply stopped texting. I said earlier he was a pioneer, and here he was, blazing a trail on what is now the well-trodden path of ghosting. It's something that anyone on a modern-day dating app would be all too familiar. Where's Sam Roller? He'll tell you. Nevertheless, simply ignoring her didn't do the trick. Whilst Kelly, 23, posing with a sedated tiger on Tinder, doesn't know where you live, IRL, Millie did know. Around she came, and was accepted at the door with mischievous enthusiasm by our other housemates, Marie and Alexandra. And Ed, hearing this from upstairs, quick thinking Ed Robinson, this sometime man of action, immediately did 2 things. 1, he hid under the bed. And 2, he began to compose an SMS. "Dear Millie, I'm out at the moment, at the gym."
Ed at the gym.
And it's come to my attention that I've been slow to reply to some of your recent messages. Please accept my sincerest apologies, and no doubt we'll run into each other at some point in due course. Kind regards, EJC
Robinson.
Never can the words "in due course" they've been used with so much venom, deflating the swollen heart of this poor unsuspecting girl, like a pin in a Prince Andrew balloon in Buckingham Palace gift shop. Ed and I did actually join a gym, believe it or not, the Meridian, which has since succumbed to arson. But what began as a committed workout regime, documented assiduously in our notebook, the Gym Diaries, swiftly shifted in emphasis. Yes, the ratio at the beginning was probably 75% gym and just 25% swimming pool, steam room and hot tub. But well, you can see where this is going. The jacuzzi increasingly began to monopolise our time. However, private conversations in such an enclosed and intimate environment are a bit of a challenge. But rather than a deterrent, Edward saw this as an opportunity. With a captive audience, the hot tub quickly became his soapbox. So it wasn't long before all of Durham's bemused local bodybuilders and builders were up to speed on the many and varied dimensions of Ed's views. How could we reconcile the idea of an omnipotent, omniscient, benevolent God in the context of the philosophical problem of evil? He wondered. Could Leon Trotsky's revolutionary political theories truly be separated from the ideals of traditional Marxism? And would Blair's waning popularity, set against the backdrop of the Iraq War, damage his ability to return his third majority government at the upcoming 2005 election? Sitting in that jacuzzi, with the jets gently bowling around my balls, I realised something. Here was a man whose steadfast commitment to the absolute embodiment of a champagne socialist. Something like them. Ladies and gentlemen, service proof. One morning, after an evening of decadent consumption at the famous SNDC, that's a Sunday night drinking club, all of our poshest pals awoke to discover that their entire fleet of Volkswagen Golfs had been adorned with a particularly adhesive vote Labour bumper sticker. Amidst the mirth, confusion, and it has to be said, fury from some of our contemporaries, it didn't require Hercule Poirot and his little grey cells to work out who was responsible. I mentioned Ed's innovative and adventurous spirit. He brought this to bear at a dinner party laid on for a number of our more well-heeled friends one memorable evening. I say a dinner party, but in Ed's world, this doesn't nearly do it justice. This was no simple spag bowl, but the Blue Lagoon, a fully fledged, authentic and immersive northeast Somalian dining experience. And to be fair, Ed actually pulled the food off. It wasn't only edible, but genuinely pretty tasty. However, as ever with Edward, success in such an endeavour is never quite this simple. Tasty food is one thing, but only if your guests are able to eat it. On arrival at the Blue Lagoon, so authentic was this experience that Ed removed all the chairs, the table and the cutlery, replacing instead with cushions on the floor and an invitation to eat everything with one's hands. And when I mentioned this was a well-heeled crowd, that wasn't simply a colourful turn of phrase. I meant it quite literally. And the image of some of the finest recent alumni from Cheltenham Ladies College, Benedum and St Mary's Ascot trying to contort themselves in their LK Benz into sieges on my living room floor will live with me forever. On one final occasion, we threw perhaps Durham's least Durhamy Durham party of all time. It was the now infamous Schools Out Bash at the end of our finals. Whilst others were convening for drinks and nibbles, we were inviting all in the sundry for a barnstorming blowout, complete with a phone machine, a hired sound system, and professionally printed invitations. It promised debauchery, and boy did it deliver. There were more than 50 complaints from local residents before we even got to midnight. And it took 3 separate visits from the judicious and persistent officers of the Durham Constabulary before they finally managed to shut us down. The following morning, though, is where Ed's role really comes to life and establishes him as the hero and the chief protagonist of our tale. I was awoken to the sound of someone relentlessly pressing our doorbell. My intuition quickly told me this wasn't someone content simply to leave a note on the mat. Whoever it was particularly keen for an audience with us directly and at our earliest convenience. Recognising that no one else was evidently making moves to effect this particular introduction, and mainly driven to a move by the effect of the ringing on my headache, I went to answer the door dressed only in my boxer shorts. "Ah, do come in, officers," I said sheepishly, showing embarrassment at what was some kindly visitor from the night before had scribbled and drawn in permanent marker on my arms, legs, and neck. "Would you like a cup of tea?" I asked. Their affirmative response, at least, I hoped, gave me a couple of moments to consider my story and think how the hell we're going to get out of this one. It was clearly quite a sticky situation. But unfortunately, things really were against me. "I'm terribly sorry, gents. someone appears to have stolen our kettle. Indeed, on looking around the dishevelled remains of what was once our kitchen living room, I realised that the kettle wasn't the only appliance that appeared to be half-inch. Almost everything was now missing, including all but one of our armchairs. Things really were an absolute mess. So don't let this sad story get you down. Enter our hero, Edward James Coleman Robinson. Apparently finally able to raise himself from his slumbers, and no doubt smelling that age-old crisis of a friend in need. Officers, thank God you're here. Hugging them both with the kind of genuine affection that P.C. Stanley's own mother would have barely bestowed on his child. We completely lost control. It really has been a horrendous and extremely unsettling experience. Behind Ed's happy-go-lucky, carefree bonhomie, there lies a calculated strategist. I appreciate you coming to help us pen our victim statements, and I'm only sorry we're not meeting in happier circumstances. It was perhaps the most masterful conflict resolution example I'd ever seen, moving our guests from stern and single-minded in their intention to whip out the cuff and read us our rights, to the role of a kindly school housemaster trying admirably to stop a poor lad from crying. So yeah, Ed turned on the waterworks again and did so brilliantly. We got offered a little more than a slap on the wrist from the university, although it's fair to say we didn't see a lot of our deposit back in the house. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Amorous Ed, philosophical Ed, political activist Ed, innovative and adventurous Ed, alcohol and Ed, diplomatic Ed, and wonderful Ed. In Rosie, he's found someone equally wonderful. She's fun, kind, warm, talented, gorgeous, and just generally fantastic. She's not afraid to tell Ed when he's being ridiculous, which, spoiler alert, is pretty much all the time. But is also incredibly supportive of him, especially what we all know has been a particularly emotional last couple of years. She's swiftly become a great friend to me, to my wife Leslie, and to so many of Ed's friends here today. And whilst we naturally celebrate them on a day like today, I feel as though the rest of us are equally the lucky ones, simply to have them in our lives. So, while South Islington is no doubt shifting a little uncomfortably at the return of Boris and Carrie, just a couple of streets away, I'd argue it's Edward and Rosie that are the borough's true power couple now.
Yeah.
And of course, what do all power couples need? 10 grand a roll of wallpaper? A down-market sponsorship tie with a direct-to-consumer fast fashion brand? Or perhaps a lucrative tele podcast series and a book deal? Well, perhaps. But mainly what they need is a portmanteau. A creative mashup of their names that elevates them to iconic status. Not sure what we're talking about? Consider the following examples. Kanye, Kim and Kanye West. Billary, Bill and Hillary Clinton. And famously, and perhaps most prestigiously, Ben Affleck. If Ben Affleck has a thing for Jennifers. Not twice, not 3 times, not even 4 times, but 5 times. Count them. He dated not only Jennifer Aniston and Jennifer Love Hewitt, was married to Jennifer Garner, is now married to Jennifer Lopez. But if you believe what you read in the tabloids, you also had a brief but no doubt passionate exchange of the sins of the flesh with Jennifer Connelly. Jennifer Lawrence must be feeling very left out. Anyway, whilst admittedly, clearly, not all these relationships stood the test of time, a portmanteau is an essential next step. So with enough water under the bridge now from the halcyon days of the 6 years of the X Factor and the rise of Jedward in 2009, I now give you Redwood. So after this, I did what any one of us would have done, and I wrote a limerick. Here stands your new couple, Redwood, elated in love as they should. The speeches are done, so now comes the fun. Raise your glasses and stand, if you would. So this, my friends, I declare, this couple's joy is one we all share. Let's drink their good health, plus ongoing wealth, and show them how much we all care. To Redwood.
Really?